The UFC pound for pound rankings absolutely suck right now. What's up, boys? We are back. Today, we are going to be looking at the pound for pound rankings and criticizing it because they flat out suck. But before we get into it, make sure to subscribe because we are trying to hit 800 subscribers by the end of the year. It would mean a lot if you can go ahead and hit that subscribe button. But let's talk about it though, because the UFC pound for pound rankings, they're abysmal right now. They are flat out terrible. We have John Jones at 2, who fights once every 2 years. We have Volkanovski at 9. We have Alessandro Pantoja, a champion with 3 title defenses, at number 10. Yeah, the UFC is actually doing a horrible job with their pound for pound rankings, so I'm going to give you guys my own pound for pound rankings. And yeah, let's get straight into it. The number 15 pound for pound ranked UFC fighter in the world, it's going to be Alex Poatan Pereira. You know, a couple months ago, there was a time when Alex Pereira arguably could have been considered top 2 pound for pound fighter in the UFC, and now he's barely managing to stay in the top 15 of the pound for pound rankings. You know, it's a sad fall off for my boy Alex Pereira, and it's all due to one man, Magomed Ankalaev, in which we'll talk about a little bit later. You know, Pereira, let's be honest, guys, he should have never been number 3 in the pound for pound rankings. The guy has no wrestling. He has no wrestling. And if we're talking pound for pound level, Alex Pereira has 0 ground game, but he has some of the best striking in the UFC. So he's extremely high in one department and extremely low in another department. He has good takedown defense, but in terms of actual grappling, Alex Pereira lacks. We all know that. So that's why he is my number 15. Moving on, we do have Sean O'Malley. Dude, Sean O'Malley, similar to Pereira, a champion who just recently lost their belt, has great striking, and both of these guys don't really have any grappling. Very similar cases. I'd say Sean O'Malley does have a little bit of better grappling, so that's why I decided to give Sean O'Malley the edge in the rankings. Moving on, we have Max Blessed Holloway. Max Blessed Holloway, he's obviously coming off a KO loss, but he is the BMF champion, dude. Come on. The BMF champion, dude. That's a real man's belt. But obviously, Max Holloway, he's had his fair share of wins and losses in the lightweight and featherweight division, so it's not like he's unstoppable. But Max Holloway, he's coming off a win at lightweight to Justin Gaethje, knocking him out at UFC 300, obviously. And he had a fair couple fights at featherweight that are to Arnold Allen, to guys like the Korean Zombie, and he's been fluctuating from lightweight to featherweight for the last couple years. That's why he's here, dude. Max Holloway has great boxing. You know, number 13, 14, and 15, all of these guys have great boxing. Max Holloway has a pretty good ground game, I'd say. He can throw up a submission if he need to. You know, I'm not saying Max Holloway is some jiu-jitsu specialist, but Max Holloway actually has some underrated wrestling and jiu-jitsu, so that's why I have him here. He also has great takedown defense. Coming in at number 12, it's going to be someone who is actually not even ranked in the pound for pound rankings at all right now. Khamzat Chimaev, dude. Khamzat Chimaev, let me tell you about this kid, Khamzat Chimaev, dude. Let me tell you about this kid. Khamzat Chimaev has an insane resume already, defeating prime Gilbert Burns, defeating Kamaru Usman, defeating Robert Whittaker, dude. This kid's good. And every single one, not every single one of those fighters, but Robert Whittaker, he absolutely destroyed. Kamaru Usman, he made look silly in some instances on the grappling. Like that first round, no one ever made Kamaru Usman look that silly in the grappling department in that first round of Khamzat Chimaev versus Kamaru Usman. And the Gilbert Burns fight, Gilbert Burns versus Khamzat Chimaev was an absolute war, but you gotta understand, that is prime of prime Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns was coming off, I think, I don't remember. I think he was coming off a loss before that fight. Or maybe he was coming off a win. I forget. But still, no, he was coming off a win to Jorge Masvidal, I believe. But still, that was prime Gilbert Burns. You can't get mad at Khamzat Chimaev for going life and death with Gilbert Burns, and he still beat Gilbert Burns. Khamzat Chimaev, insane wrestling. Probably one of the most dominant wrestling games you've ever seen in UFC history. He has to be here, dude, because he's probably going to beat Dricus du Plessis in a couple months whenever that fight gets announced. The next fighter I do have, it's someone who was originally supposed to fight for the belt but pulled out. Arman Tsarukyan, dude. Arman Tsarukyan. That is a real thing. Arman Tsarukyan. He's number 11 on my pound for pound list. Here's why. Arman Tsarukyan, obviously, some of the best wrestling in the UFC right now. Some of the best ground game in the UFC. Lightweight division right now. And you gotta give him credit, dude, because people were saying that Arman Tsarukyan was gonna be one of the toughest challengers for Islam Makhachev right now. And they've got a point, dude. You know, maybe Arman Tsarukyan hasn't built up an insane resume over the years like some of these guys, but Arman Tsarukyan is coming off a win to Charles Oliveira, and before that, he's picked up wins over guys such as Beneil Dariush, Joel Alvarez, and many others like Matt Frivola. So maybe they're not insane resume wins, but still, dude, this guy beat Charles Oliveira pretty convincingly. He has insane wrestling, and yeah, dude, he's a great fighter, great competitor, and I think he deserves to be here in some of the best fighters in the world. Moving in at number 10, though, we do have the first champion that's not including the BMF title. Dricus du Plessis. You know, what is Dricus du Plessis ranked in the actual pound-for-pound rankings right now? I think he's pretty high, dude. Yeah, he's ranked 5th. 5th in the pound-for-pound ranking, so I just pretty much doubled what he's ranked right now. I'm not high on Dricus du Plessis, dude. And I feel like a lot of people are starting to come around the Dricus du Plessis that he's actually pretty good, according to some people. I still don't think Dricus du Plessis is very good. You know, he beat Sean Strickland, who's a teep and jab merchant. He beat a washed Izzy. I'm not going to just sit here and be like, Dricus du Plessis is horribly overrated, bro. He has 0 good wins. No, Dricus du Plessis beat Whittaker. He beat Izzy. He beat Strickland. You know, there is some, maybe arguments for those guys not being at the peak, but it's okay, dude. This guy has built up an insane resume over the years. And Dricus du Plessis, I don't know, dude. His striking is just so weird. Dricus du Plessis is the worst good fighter I've ever seen. He doesn't really have, maybe he has a ground game when he just face plants and gets a takedown on Izzy, but I'm not very fond of this guy. If we're going skill for skill, I think Khamzat Chimaev beats Dricus du Plessis. If we're going skill for skill, I think Max Holloway beats Dricus du Plessis. So maybe I should have him even lower, but you know, he is a champion, so somehow he's going to be on this list. But number 9, I do have another champion, Belal Muhammad. Belal Muhammad obviously is coming off a win to Leon Edwards. He's fighting JDM at UFC 315, in which I will be predicting Belal Muhammad to win. Belal Muhammad's wrestling is so dominant, dude. He dropped Leon Edwards on his head. He embarrassed Leon Edwards, and that is to be taken into account. Belal Muhammad is the real deal. He has hands like Canelo. Belal Muhammad actually has pretty good striking. He beat Sean Brady in the striking department. That winner was Sean Brady. He's aged beautifully. And Belal Muhammad, dude, this kid's good. I don't have him that high because I feel like I was joking when I said he has hands like Canelo. And I don't know. Let's see how he does against JDM. I do think Belal will beat JDM, but he's not as well-rounded as some of these other guys at the top, because the next guy we do have is going to be, hold it tight, Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall at number 8. Tom Aspinall, technically he's not a real undisputed champion, but in many people's eyes, including mine, he is. John Jones is not a real champion, dude. Tom Aspinall is the actual champion of the heavyweight division. But Tom Aspinall, insane striking. He moves like a welterweight as a heavyweight, dude. He has good jiu-jitsu. He trained jiu-jitsu initially when he was getting into MMA with his father. He submitted guys like Volkov. He submitted guys like, who did he submit, dude? Didn't he submit Andrei Arlovski? I forgot. I think he submitted Andrei Arlovski. He has a submission game. He has a jiu-jitsu game. That's why John Jones is literally praying not to fight this man. Tom Aspinall is super quick, and he would be a little bit higher if he was actually a champion. It just sucks. Dude, Tom Aspinall will be, I think, top 5 in the pound-for-pound rankings if he was an actual champion. It just sucks that John Jones is ruining this man's career. But yeah, moving on to the next fighter. It's going to be Magomed Ankalaev, dude. Oh, I hate to see this guy in the pound-for-pound rankings, dude. It really just makes me mad. But Magomed Ankalaev and Tom Aspinall, I was just switching these guys back and forth. I couldn't decide who was going to win. So I just broke it down skill for skill, like that's how the pound-for-pound rankings are supposed to be. Magomed Ankalaev, great striking, great wrestling, great takedown defense. Tom Aspinall, he's really quick. He has knockout power, but I feel like Ankalaev is just going to be able to go the distance with him. You know, we've never seen Ankalaev knocked out or anything. I think Ankalaev would just be able to keep his distance against Tom Aspinall and just beat Tom Aspinall in an actual fight, skill for skill. Say these guys were fighting at the same division. I'm not accounting for weight classes. That's how the pound-for-pound rankings work. You don't account for people's weight in the pound-for-pound rankings. But I think Ankalaev is technically just a little bit more skilled than Tom Aspinall, so that's why I have him at number 7. Obviously, Ankalaev just beat Alex Pereira, dominated Alex Pereira. Maybe not dominated, but you guys know what I mean. This guy's accumulated a pretty good resume over the years. 2 wins over Ian Cutelaba, a win over Johnny Walker, a win over Jan Blachowicz, pretty much, dude. You can't tell me that Magomed Ankalaev did not beat Jan Blachowicz. We all know that Jan Blachowicz lost that fight. But still, dude, that's why I have Magomed Ankalaev at number 7. And the number 6 guy, let's talk about him next, because the UFC have this guy listed at number 10, and quite frankly, I think that is an absolute disgrace. That is a disgrace to the entire UFC. It is Alessandro Pantoja. Why is Alessandro Pantoja ranked at number 10? That is completely delusional. That is unfair, and it just shows the UFC's hatred toward the the flyweight division. The UFC hates the flyweight division so much, dude. Pantoja has 3 title defenses. He's really active, and I feel like every time Pantoja gets a win, like after his win over Kai Asakura at UFC 310, he went up to like 5. But like as months go by and this guy hasn't fought in a little bit, he slowly drops down in the rankings. Pantoja, Dude, defeated Brandon Royval, defeated Brandon Moreno, defeated Steve Erceg, defeated Kaya Sakura. Give this guy his credit. He has an insane resume, dude. He's picked up wins over literally all the top guys in the flyweight division. I don't understand. This guy has great striking, great wrestling. He's really well-rounded. And this is the part of the pound-for-pound rankings where you'll see really well-rounded fighters, excluding the next guy, because the next guy isn't really well-rounded. But you guys get it what I mean, dude. Pantoja, really well-rounded, really active, really good striking. This kid's good. He is at my number 6 spot in my pound-for-pound rankings. Moving on to the next guy. I just said that he's not that well-rounded, and it is Merab Dvalishvili. Merab Dvalishvili obviously has zero striking. I mean, maybe he was piecing up Umar Nurmagomedov in that fight a little bit. He landed some good shots later in the round on Umar. But still, dude, we know Merab's primarily a wrestler, and that is what makes him so dominant, dude. His overwhelmingness in the wrestling department. Merab Dvalishvili is going to out-cardio you throughout the 5 rounds, dude. That's a given, dude. He's just better in that element, dude. And he maybe his striking got a little bit better. Like I just said, we've seen it in the Umar fight. I don't know, Merab, it's just one of these guys where there's not much justification for him being this high. But he's pretty good. I mean, he's pretty much the bantamweight GOAT. Merab, who's he beaten? Jose Aldo, Sean O'Malley, Peter Yan, Henry Cejudo. Insane resume Merab has. Put him here. He deserves it. He doesn't have, skillfully, when you look at Merab, he shouldn't be that good, but he is that good. I can't really talk about Merab's skill set. Merab, he's an insane striker. He's an insane wrestler. He has the submission ability. Obviously, Merab has zero finishing ability, but still, dude, he deserves to be here. Insane resume Merab. And the next guy's ranked 9th in the featherweight rankings. He is Alexander the Great Volkanovski, and I gotta say, just a year ago, we were talking about Alexander Volkanovski as he was finished, dude. And one fight has gotten to number 4. I think it's crazy that I'm having Alexander Volkanovski this high. And I don't exactly agree with him being number 9. I think that's ridiculous that Alexander Volkanovski is number 9, dude. He's the featherweight champion, dude. What the heck are you talking about, UFC? But, it kind of feels weird just slapping Volk in just the pound-for-pound rankings after he's coming off 2 horrible losses before the Diego Lopez fight. But still, dude, Volkanovski is here. Skill for skill, not including any of his losses against people who you can kind of justify those losses. Obviously, Islam Makhachev was on short notice, and Ilia Topuria, it was a quick turnaround after being knocked out by Islam Makhachev. So you can kind of justify his 2 losses, and obviously, we've seen him. He's back against Diego Lopez, so that's why he's in this insane resume. The featherweight GOAT Volkanovski is, and yeah, dude, that's why Volkanovski is 4th in my pound-for-pound rankings. Number 3, John Jones. Let me talk about this kid, John Jones, dude. John Jones obviously is ranked number 2 in the world, right behind Islam Makhachev, and that's not fair, dude. He's so inactive, dude. This guy fought Cyril Gane in like late 2023, then fought Stipe Miocic in late 2024. Cyril Gane's okay one, I guess, dude. Cyril Gane has no ground game, though. We've known that. He's been exposed for having no ground game. Volkov literally beat this guy. It's not that good of a win. And Stipe Miocic is literally 50. He's literally 50, dude. This guy's a grandpa. He's a firefighter, dude. He's a part-time UFC fighter. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. But I'll put John Jones here because obviously what he's done during his long career, it's got to mean something, right? I mean, wins over some of the greatest of all time, like Daniel Cormier, like Stipe Miocic, we'll count that. Like just absolute greats in this division. This guy beat Anthony Smith. John Jones beat Anthony Smith, dude. Come on, Anthony Smith is one of the greatest of all time. John Jones, though, he's here. He's number 3. I gotta put John Jones in your number 3 spot. John Jones should minimum be in your top 3. I just don't think he deserves number 2. I mean, so pretty much John Jones should be number 3. Moving on to the next guy, though, I do have Ilia Topuria as my number 2 pound-for-pound rankings fighter. And obviously, the final 2 guys, it's a given who they're going to be. Ilia Topuria is here. He's technically not a champion right now, so I don't know if he really could be here. But the UFC updated his rankings in the featherweight division, Ilia Topuria, of course, but they didn't update his ranking in the pound-for-pound ranking. So we don't really know where Ilia Topuria is, what his actual skill level is. I don't even know how good Ilia Topuria is anymore because Ilia Topuria beat Bryce Mitchell. It was a pretty close fight until he submitted him. But Gene Silva absolutely terrorized Bryce Mitchell. Gene Silva humiliated Bryce Mitchell. But I won't talk about that too much. Obviously, Ilia Topuria isn't a champion anymore, and we're kind of just wondering what Ilia Topuria is going to do with his career at lightweight. There's a lot of potential matchups, but we haven't heard anything. It's been a month or 2 since his announcement to lightweight has happened, but we haven't heard any news since then, and we're kind of waiting on that, so we'll see how it goes from here. Ilia Topuria, obviously great striking, knockout power, and ground game like no other, dude. Jiu-jitsu insane, submission ability insane. Ilia Topuria is number 2 for a reason, dude. He's the second best UFC fighter in the world, and that's what makes this fight with Islam Makhachev. We'll talk about him next. Islam Makhachev, obviously, the pound-for-pound number 1. You have to have him as your pound-for-pound number 1. But Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev would be an absolute banger of a fight. We know that. And Islam Makhachev is the pound for pound #1. I don't have to explain this much, dude. He has an insane resume, one of the greatest resumes of all time, a valid argument for the greatest resume of all time. Charles Oliveira, Volk twice, Dustin Poirier, so many other fighters that he's accumulated on the way up. This guy's a GOAT. He's one of the greatest of all time. Islam Makhachev, pound for pound #1. I mean, I'm not going to tell you about Islam's skill set. You already know it. Islam Makhachev is one of the best strikers in the UFC. His striking is so basic, but it works so nicely. And obviously, probably one of the greatest hands-on wrestlers of all time, right behind Khabib Nurmagomedov. So, Islam Makhachev, pound for pound #1. He can do it all. And yeah, man, that's going to do it for today's video. The UFC's rankings are much worse than mine. My pound for pound rankings are the only thing you should accept as your pound for pound rankings, dude. I am the best MMA YouTuber out there. And yeah, man, thank you much for watching. MMA Outpost out.